Hi, and welcome to another UnTech video. Today is a bit of a throwback, a tribute, if you will, to Greg Hawekes, who wrote an article back in 2016, and I was just reminded of it. I was just reminded of the article the other day called Entering the Matrix, Robots.txt URL. Great article, talks about using Robots.txt, which, if you don't know what it is, every website has one. It's what indicates to the search engines what content they want to be indexed and what content they want to remain private. And in his article, he goes in an in-depth explanation on how you use it to find the sitemap, to look for potential hidden directories, information that you could easily leverage that you might not know was there to begin with. And in this example, he used Sloan Kettering as a way to take a look, and he found this huge directory of all their doctor profiles organized in one place. So I decided, why not take that one step further and show you guys how to then scrape that, turning that into a spreadsheet with all the information neatly organized, ready to be imported into an ATS or used for further recruiting or sourcing purposes. So for this demonstration, and we're going to take it step by step, so that even if you're not technical, you're not great with scraping, you should be able to follow these directions and end up with the same results, maybe even learn something and start applying this to other areas. So we're going to use webscraper.io, which is my favorite when you need a web scraper that will be able to not just scrape what's on a page or paginate to the next page, but also click into links, or as they say, crawl through multiple levels of the document, of the web page, getting you all the information that you need. It is free, and as far as I know, completely unlimited to how often you could use it. In fact, I don't think they even offer a paid version. They do offer a in the cloud paid version, and I believe they also offer a more professional level, will build the scraper for you type services. But I don't know too much in regards to that. It's a little bit more technical than Data Miner and some of the others, but it does allow for one recipe to go deep into the web page, whereas within a Data Miner, we'd probably have to make that into a 2 or 3 step process, first scraping the URLs and creating a job and uploading those URLs, and then another sitemap to scrape into those URLs. Still possible, and if you want, I think Dean DaCosta has a bunch of videos where he explains that, and I actually believe it's going to be his topic for SourceCon this year. So also another good tool to use, but today we're going to be focusing on WebScraper.io, which is a free download from the Chrome store. So let's get into it, and we'll actually follow part of Greg's article in the beginning, just to kind of see where we're at. So really easy. You can view any websites robot.txt by simply just putting that into your browser, right? So go to the main or root directory, which in this case is mskcc.org, robots.txt. I'm going to redo it here so you can see what happens. It automatically loads up, and what you find here is an entire list of what they want to be indexed and what they don't want to be indexed. You see there's a bunch of allows, there's a bunch of disallows now. Sometimes you could look at the disallows and poke around and find some hidden information. A lot of times just stuff that they don't want people searching on but might be available, or in this case some stuff here, guessing it's probably protected. But if you want, check it out. So what we generally want to look for is what's called a sitemap. It's going to be their map to the web page, and usually you'll find that at the bottom. You'll see we have that right here. There's 2 of them. A sitemap for their news, it looks like, and new sitemap, and a regular sitemap here, XML. Now, this web page actually has a very clean sitemap. A lot of web pages that will use XML will come up looking like a web browser, or you'll see the actual HTML code, which could get a little bit annoying. But either way, paste that into your browser. Step 1, load it up and see what you get. Now, this is basically following step by step Greg's article, and as you see, you're getting a lot of different things here. Let's see, we have one that looks like it's going to their disease, their downloads, events, forums, groups, and as you see, and I'll click through one of them, right? So if I click on associations, it brings me to a bunch of other ones, and I could look through these, see if there's anything here. But these are all /departments. And as you see, if I click in any of them, they're bringing me to a specific department. And again, if I click around in here, I could probably find our faculty. There's probably a list of people who work here, that you could go into. Yeah. So useful, and that could certainly get me some of the information I want, but what we're looking for is everything. We want it all. So in this case, let's go to doctors, which I think is pretty the obvious choice, and it brings me to a list of all their doctors. Now here's where we're going to divert from the article and take it one step deeper. Now I can click to every one of these, and there's a page here, but I want to go a little bit further. I want to scrape into all of these and collect all of those pages. So here's where we're going to slow it down a little bit. And if you're already familiar with web scraping, or if you're familiar with webscraper.io, this might be where I lose your interest. But for those who are first getting into this, or have played around with some of the more simpler point and click type ones, and are looking for something a little bit more powerful, this is where it's going to get really fun for you. So what you do, and webscraper.io doesn't have a typical app for you to click. It actually does, but it doesn't do anything. What it tells you to do is you have to go into the inspect page, and it will actually load up around here. So you see we have the webscraper.io, and it has all these sitemaps, which are their recipes, which are the instructions that the web scraper will use to scrape the page. In this case, we're going to create new sitemap, and it's going to ask for two things: a URL, very simple. We're just going to copy and paste that from the top, and a name. It's pretty particular about what it names it, so we're just going to name it today test scrape. Cool. And we're going to click save. Create sitemap. So here we go. Here's a blank sitemap, and first thing we want it to do is tell it to click into each one of these links. So what I'm going to do is click add new selector, and I want the type to be link because that's what we want to do. Now we're going into multiple ones, so I'm going to click multiple. I'm going to name it link to make it easy. And now you need to select what you want it to go into. Now this is a very visual, very similar to the octoparses and the data miners of the world. And I'm simply going to click one of these. It's going to turn red. And it's going to indicate the web address, or sorry, the element or CSS selector here. And I'm going to click a second one until they all turn red. And you see it's telling me that it's actually the A tag, which I'm not going to go into, but that's just where it's located. Click done. Great. So you have the A here. Just to be sure, I want to click element preview, see if they all turn red. I'm going to scroll down, making sure there's no craziness, nothing out of the ordinary, but it looks good to me. And if I simply wanted to see what it sees, I could click data preview, and it's going to load up a, it's going to show you where it's going, where it sees, here's a link, where it's following, and what it's following again. Not the information I want. I actually want it to go into these, so I'm going to save it. Perfect. So that's the first step. Now I actually want to build upon that, so I want to go into link as if it was a directory, or make it the parent, right? So I'm clicking it. Now I'm putting in site selectors into the link. I'm no longer in root. So I'm going to pick any one of these. It doesn't really matter, because at this point we're going to assume these are all relatively the same. If they're not, then you're pretty much at a no-go. And we're going to choose what exactly we want from here. So this is really easy. I'm going to add a new selector. This happens to be a text selector, so I don't need to change anything. And it's not multiple because only one page, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to select the name. I'm going to click OK, and then type in whatever I want to call this field. In this case, it's name. I'm going to click save. I could do element preview if I wanted, save. If I'm ever unsure, I could just click element data preview, and it's going to show me what it sees. And that's exactly what I want to get. So let's follow that for everything else. And we're going to do a couple of them here. We're going to get the point. Here it looks like a specialty, right? Or a subtitle. So let's call it a special. Let's say we want the phone number here. Let's click that. I'm going to click phone. I'm going to check it out by clicking data preview. It did get the phone. Now, keep in mind, whenever you see something that's using an nth of type, warning flag should go up, because that means it's grouping these two elements together and it's picking the second one, which is okay now. But if that ever changes, if the location of these two change, meaning if now there's an email on the next record, there's an email, it could screw everything up. But we're gonna assume it's not for a second. There's an about me, I might want to grab that, so on and so forth. So maybe I want to grab the clinical trials. You see what I'm saying? Right now I'm just going to do the 3 because I don't want this video to be too long for you guys. And that's it. We're pretty much done. Now, what I tend to do, since we know it's going through about 1 million links, I want to make sure that everything lines up. And I also want to make sure there aren't a couple records that might have some other valuable information on it, like an email. So I'm just going to click to another one at random. Now I just paged back, and here we go. We have some other information here. I'm just going to check my formula by clicking element preview. Name looks good. Especially looks good. Now phone looks good. You notice there's an additional phone number here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another one to grab that. This is where we're talking about how it's grouping them, and here it's doing nth of type 3, 1, 2, 3. So I already know that's going to be a potential issue. I might have to do some post-production editing on my Excel sheet when it comes up. I'm going to save that. You see here, conditions treated. This is new. So I might want to do that. And for that, I'm going to do something different called a group selector. Select them all one by one. 1, 2, go away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. And let's see what that looks like. Right, so it's grouping them all in brackets. Looks like I got them all. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. It's going to put it all in one line. And this would be like a bit of almost like tags. I'm going to call it tags. Let's see if there's anything else in here. There's an about me. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to page back now. Try one more just for good measure. I'm going to pick it at random. This guy looks good. Let's see if it works. Got the name. Specialty, good. Phone. Got the first phone. Got the second phone. And got all the tags. This is exactly what I want. If I wanted a bio, and you'll see when I did it, I got the bio. I got a bunch. Got the phone numbers. You see, I also set up this second phone number one as well, like kind of a phone number part 2, if you will, because easiest way to get it. Back to the web scraper. Okay, so I have pretty much everything that I want. That's it. We're pretty much done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to scrape. Now, page load delays. You could have that at minimum at 1,000. 2,000 is a recommended. If you're scraping a page that loads slowly or takes a while, you want to increase that. Also, if you're on a site that checks for scraping and you don't want to get blocked, you might want to increase both of these. But either way, let's scrape it. And as you see what it's doing, it loaded the list, 944 total URLs, and it's going to each one of them. And you could just let this run in the background. Don't have to do anything for it. Now, I'm going to drag this half on, half off my screen for a moment, just so I could show you something here. As it's doing its thing, I can check it by clicking this refresh button. I also get to it by going here and going to browse, same thing. And it'll actually show me what it's looking like as it scrapes. Now, you'll see some superfluous information. It sort of gets the main link twice and 3 times. We're just going to have to delete that because it's getting the main URL, the actual link that it's showing us, and the actual link that it's linked to. But as I see, it's getting the name, it's getting the specialty, it's getting the phone, sometimes getting the phone too, the second phone, and all our tags. And it looks like it's pretty organized. You could keep doing this, it'll keep loading more elements, but this is just to check it. I'm not really doing anything with these. I just want to make sure that it's pretty consistent so I don't get to the end and it's all done. So that's basically it. And as you see, let me get this back onto my screen here. It's continuing to go one by one. Looks like it's getting every 2 seconds. It's getting a record. And when we're done, or anytime, you could just simply download this into a CSV file by clicking export data to CSV. And that's it. That's how we've taken Greg's article and we've turned it into a spreadsheet. As a special treat for you guys, I'm going to release the link to this. And if anyone is interested in the formula that I used, the recipe or sitemap, leave a comment or DM me and I'll send it along to you. You'll see a link to the spreadsheet, and as you see, this is a bit of a honeypot for anyone who's recruiting doctors or nurses. We not only have the main doctors one, we've went into the nurses one, we've gotten that, we've went into the research and technicians page, and actually some other doctors as well, mostly in New York, some in Texas, and some in Wisconsin. Now you might ask, why not just do all 3 tabs at once? Well, the reason being for that is they're slightly different layouts per department, something I discovered early on as I was going through it, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we were in the doctors, right? And I noticed there was some other ones. There was bioresearch, bioclinical. So when I went into bioclinical, there's also a list of nurses. Now, if I had wanted to, I could technically have it go through this to another screen and then scrape everything. But what I was particularly curious about is whether or not the sitemaps would be the same, right? And I really wasn't sure that they were. And so when I went to check it out, I realized that some of them were a little bit different. And you want to be sort of careful of that, right? So each page is a little bit different. The name is different. There's a picture in the middle. There's less information. So we had to design a new sitemap for this. Now, technically, I could have done that all in one and gotten everything, but figured it was easier just to do it one by one and make it a little bit more simpler. But I guess you could make up your own sitemaps for each one of these. And I've only showed you a few. You see there's 3,500 in the bioresearch category. In the bioclinical, we have another 248. And there's all these other ones that I haven't even checked into. I believe most of them aren't going to be doctor profiles. No, they seem to be other areas. So I think we got most of them. But some courses, some trainings. I think the main ones are association, bioclinical, bioresearch, and doctors are the main ones that you'd probably look into. But who knows? There's a lot in here. Happy hunting. Thanks, guys.